Here we go. Hello, everyone. It's Ashley Maltz, founder of Austin Wellness Collaborative. I am here with the lovely Natalie Stone, who's a practitioner here in Austin, and she is going to talk to us about neurofeedback and nutrigenomics. So I'll hand it over to her. She'll introduce herself, and we shall go from there.
Awesome. Welcome, everyone. Thank you so much, Ashley and Hasael. My name is Natalie Stone, and I'm just so glad to be here and have you guys join us today. Just honored to be invited to speak on the Zoom for AWC. Some of you I know and have met in person, some on Zoom. And some I've yet to meet, but just glad to spend some time and share some really exciting information on what I believe is are two really unique and powerful therapeutic approaches to really turning on the body's own healing wisdom. And so first, I just want to invite us all maybe to take a little deep breath together. Nice. Maybe just a few deep centering breaths this lovely Friday here. So good. So, you know, my passion really is just that, like, how do we activate our body's own miracle, right? Our body has so much of what we need inside of it already. Unfortunately, as we are aging, as we are dealing with just life stress, chronic complex illness, you know, certain disease and illness in the body, and the onslaught of increasingly toxic environment. So while we have control over some things, right, that we put in and on our bodies, other things are a bit out of our control, and now facing this pandemic, right? So I think as wellness practitioners in this community and beyond, we're really being invited to really lead the shift in consciousness that I feel like is happening, that how can, you know, we become more proactive in our approach, right? We've up until now had a really reactive healthcare model or a dis-ease care model. And so I really am honored and feel really hopeful to be a part of offering solutions as we move forward, right? You know, doing that really, again, just so passionate about turning on and up our body's ability to heal at the cellular level. We're doing that through nutrigenomics. So nutrigenomics being the study of how nutritional compounds and the synergy of particular plant compounds can affect genetic expression. That's really exciting. And we're going to watch a video here in a minute on the science of that. And then the neurofeedback piece, really looking at our brain and central nervous system and how do we address the root cause of so many people being stuck in that fight, flight, or freeze response that's happening, right? And shifting out of that into the rest, digest, and healing mode that our body naturally, right, has these two sympathetic nervous response and parasympathetic, right? Sympathetic, or what I call not so sympathetic, fight or flight, and then the parasympathetic, or rest, digest, and healing. So we're able to do that in a very gentle and non-invasive drug-free way through neurofeedback. So we're going to talk about both. We're going to kind of split the time, and I have a couple of videos to share with some doctors talking about the science behind those two approaches, and then we'll have some time for questions. So, but first I want to just share a little bit of my story, if that's okay, as it kind of pertains to how I came to be here, right? So I am originally from Houston, Texas. I got here as quickly as possible, right? I got to Austin as quickly as possible. All it took was one trip here when I was 17, and I knew that this was home. But I didn't apply to any other school but the University of Texas. I went there and studied psychology, got a bachelor's degree in psychology, which I realized quickly you know, you can't do a whole lot with just a bachelor's in psychology. And it seemed that all they were talking about was writing papers and doing research to get into grad school, to go write more papers and do more research. And I just wanted to help people. My mother's a psychologist, and I just always had a calling to help. So as fate would have it, on the day I graduated from UT, I was having lunch with my fairy godmother. Yes, I have a fairy godmother. And all in one day, she told me about the Settlement Home for Children, where I actually went on to be a live-in house parent and youth care counselor. They're a wonderful nonprofit organization here in Austin. But she also told me about the Lauderstein-Conway School of Massage Therapy. So, and a little light bulb went off, and I ended up going there to study, and I loved learning about anatomy and physiology, and then the energy piece coming in, right? So that mind, body, spirit connection. So I kind of found like my path there, and I embarked on a 13-year massage career. And I loved it. I did integrative body work, kind of just learning everything I could to integrate different healing modalities. I loved shiatsu and Thai massage. I traveled to Thailand a couple of times to study there. I did shiatsu massage, which I highly recommend if you haven't experienced. It is really a very deeply relaxing and decompressing type of body work, where the practitioner is using their feet to do the massage. And I really loved my practice. I had a private practice for 9 years. I worked in the spa industry for 5 years. What I didn't factor in was that I was approaching complete and total burnout, both physically and energetically. And I don't know if any of you have ever experienced or know someone experienced burnout. It's devastating. Like I was, you know, my calling, right, was to help people in this way. Well, right around that time, I really became interested in the root cause of illness and disease, right? And I think just getting into my early 30s and being more personally affected with friends, families, family members, and loved ones that were being affected by the big four, right? Cancer, heart disease, diabetes, Alzheimer's, were all affecting me personally in my family. And, you know, and massage was great, but I was really feeling like I could only, you know, affect so many people and only give temporary relief of a much bigger problem, right? And unless you were one of my handful of clients coming in every other week using massage really proactively, right, it was still that reactive mindset of like, oh, I hurt here, you know, touch me here, oh, I threw my neck out, like I'm gonna go get a massage, right? And that became very energetically draining to try to put a dent in that much bigger problem. And I felt like I had an idea of like, okay, what's at the root of illness, right? Like, why is nobody talking about cell damage and inflammation, right? That's got to be right at the root. I didn't know what oxidative stress was. We're going to talk about that in a minute. If you go now to the National Library of Medicine, which is pubmed.gov, and you type in the words oxidative stress in the search bar, you're going to see over 200,000 studies linking oxidative stress, or what I call the rusting of our engine, to every disease, right? So that's where this path of nutrigenomics led me. And I was very fortunate that one of my regular clients, who was coming in every other week for over 3 years, brought to my attention actually an ABC News report that featured Dr. Joe McCord, who's actually the discoverer of an enzyme that our own body makes called superoxide dismutase. That's a long word. We're going to call it SOD for short. But our bodies, you know, if you think of the body like a car, and they put the gas in the car, it burns that fuel as energy, and then it produces exhaust, right? On your car, you have to have, legally, you have to have a catalytic converter, right? To filter out that exhaust so you're not polluting the environment worse than we already are. Your body actually makes another enzyme called catalase. No mistake, right? Catalase, our own catalytic converter, as we burn fuel in the form of food, and some of us are putting better food fuel in than others, right? So depending on what kind of clean food you're putting in, you're burning clean or dirty. But we have these two amazing enzymes, catalase and SOD, that our body makes to help filter out all the damage as we burn our fuel. So, but unfortunately, as we age, the production of those enzymes starts to decrease, right? And the amount of cell damage and inflammation is going up. Those enzymes are going. So Dr. McCord found a certain pathway in the body called NRF2, It's a protein messenger that when we activate it, it tells your body to produce more of those good enzymes, along with one called glutathione, which you're hearing more and more about. It's the mother of all antioxidants that our own body makes. So through nutrigenomics and what we call biohacking, or taking control of our own biology, we are able to actually affect those genetic pathways and get your body to act like it did when it was younger. So, and I'm going to let Dr. Brian Dixon share some of that info with you in a minute. But so backing up to my story, right? So here I find out about this, what we call a little yellow pill, this particular NRF2 activator, this cellular activator. And so I said, man, I want to get this in my body. I start taking it, and I'd taken it about 5 months into putting this in my body every day. I had a profound shift. My lifelong IBS that I had been suffering with did a complete 180, you guys. And again, and we're not making any claims to treat, cure, prevent, mitigate any disease, right? This is my body, by activating my body's own healing wisdom. My personal experience with this was that I had this profound shift where all of a sudden my bowels and my gut were working like your body's supposed to work, right? Your body's a miracle. Just unfortunately, as we age, that miracle slows down, right? So, so that was that. Backing up, I had cancer at 3 months old. I had a type of cancer called Neuroblastoma. If you don't catch it before you're 1, you have a 10% chance of survival, or at least that's how it was in 1979. And neuroblastoma is a cancer of the nervous tissues, and it presented in me as a tumor wrapped around my left kidney and adrenal gland, and a tumor under my left eye. And they took out my left kidney and adrenal gland at 3 months, and I had chemo and radiation. So, which saved my life, but it kind of wrecked my immune system. I don't know if you know anyone, hopefully you do, that has beat cancer. And if they did that with the use of chemo and radiation, there's a good chance that their immune system took a hit, right? So maybe your immune system's never the same. And for me, throughout my childhood, my teenage years, and into my adulthood, I really struggled to stay well, whether it was underlying viruses in my body or just the common cold. I was getting sick like 6 to 8 times a year with just a cold, right? I felt like I looked at a germ and I was sick. And I don't know if you know anyone that is like that, cancer or having not had cancer, but it was really, really hard to just feel like I was always fighting to stay well. So fast forward, you know, when I started taking that NRF2 activator, and that's all we had back then with this nutrigenomic company. And now we've added in some other things for the mitochondria. We've added in now recently an NAD synergizer. Some of you are starting to learn and hear about NAD, and a time-released probiotic with something called Wellmune, right? So fasting forward, I just went 3.5 years without getting sick once, you guys, which for me in my lifetime, I didn't think was possible. So I've reached a place of vitality. So it is my passion and purpose to help as many people as possible with education of this information, and that there is a way to really take control of your body and increase your body's own healing. So yeah, without further ado, I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to learn what we call the 3 theories of aging, and that's the theory of oxidative stress, of mitochondrial, and of something called Sirtuins, which we'll learn a little bit about. So let me just share my screen, and then we'll take some questions. Any questions? All right.
Science has now helped discover the 3 theories of aging.
Can you see that?
At the core, we have to get the basics. We have to get the basics right. When we look in the cell, when we look at the molecular biology, so myself being a molecular biologist, we want to know everything that's happening between that first signal that's coming into the cell and then that physiology that's happening. But what's been shown in aging research is that communication signal gets lost or muted or attenuated as we get older. It starts as early as our 20s. So again, where this nutrigenomic research is so exciting is that we can utilize extracts from plants to basically reawake NRF2 and bring it back to its full potential. This is what's so exciting about LifeVantage. We're looking at this layered approach now to these cell signaling pathways, what's happening to them as we age, and then basically layering a nutritional approach to these different theories of aging through nutrigenomics to try to keep us as healthy for as long as possible. Researchers found early on that as we age, we basically start to accumulate free radicals and other oxidants. And if left unchecked, this can go on to have very serious consequences to the cell. But what's so interesting is our bodies have been able to capture the ability of antioxidants and put that capacity inside of our DNA. The main protein that's responsible to turn on those antioxidant and detoxification enzymes is a protein called NRF2. And it's literally flipping the switches on our DNA to turn on these protective mechanisms. So protandem NRF2 is so interesting because it was specifically designed, clinically shown to activate the NRF2 protein, but it's basically bringing our cells to a heightened state of readiness when those insults do ultimately enter the cell. Another major theory of aging that's out there is the mitochondrial theory of aging. As we get older, our mitochondria basically start to break down. And if you're not familiar with what the mitochondria are, that is where the vast majority of our energy production is happening. So you can think of the mitochondria as being the cell's powerhouse. And so when they stop working, we stop working. So as researchers went in and looked at what's happening in the mitochondria with age, they find that they're not producing as much energy. They become far less efficient. So protandem NRF1 synergizer was specifically formulated to target mitochondrial health. NRF1 has been shown to, one, remove damaged or bad mitochondria, but then also is responsible for the biogenesis, right, the making of new mitochondria within the cell. Theory of aging that's really caught our attention lately is this Sirtuin theory of aging, and it's a really interesting theory. So if we're again talking about inputs versus outputs of molecular biology through these cell signaling pathways, they went in and they identified a family of proteins called the Sirtuins. So what does it take for these Sirtuins to work? One thing that they found absolutely required for Sirtuin activity is a molecule called NAD. You actually see just a tremendous amount of health benefits coming as a result. Healthy longevity, a healthy vascular system, helping us maintain cholesterol levels already in the normal range, and then a lot of cognitive functions. So our mood's a little bit better, we can think a little bit clearly. You do start to get some increases in energy. So of course NAD becomes a very intriguing molecule. So we went to work, we formulated protandem NAD synergizer specifically to target NAD and NAD-dependent pathways with the ultimate goal of increasing Sirtuin activity. Okay, so we saw that the individual products are working amazingly individually. We had the suspicion that there was going to be a massive synergistic effect between the three products in the protandem family. Guess what we found? A massive synergistic effect. This is the data that I showed you for the individual products upregulating their respective genes. But what did we find with the trisynergizer? In the NRF2 gene, an additional 1,500% increase. Do you see the synergy? NRF1 increased to 120%, or a 69% further increase. How about the NAD gene? Went up to 227% for an almost 1,800% increase. That's the excitement. So I'm incredibly excited about what LifeVantage is doing with its protandem family of products, how we're addressing these three different theories of aging, the free radical theory of aging, the mitochondrial theory of aging, and now the Sirtuin theory of aging. It's really opening up the door of possibility. But I also really think it's going to start to change the conversation that people are having out there as it relates to healthcare. So taking a more proactive approach to our health and wellness instead of a reactionary approach. Oh, and one more thing. This is how you feel.
Awesome. So I think it gives you just a little idea, a little glimpse into how far we've come from just that first NRF2. Can you hear me? Oh yeah. Okay, I think everyone else is muted. Thumbs up. So, and quite frankly, I feel like $1 million bucks. Like when we brought in that NAD, what excites me is that again, just that's what nutrigenomics is, why it's so exciting to me is the synergy, right? And the ability to biohack those pathways. Question, yes.
Natalie, can you tell us the basic definition of nutrigenomics, just for people who may not be familiar with that?
Right. So the actual definition of nutrigenomics, the study of how nutrition or nutritional compounds affect genetic expression. Right. So what's kind of fascinating about that tri-synergizer is due to that study of showing the increased effect of all three together, where there's actually going to be a patent on that synergy in the body. The first NRF2 activator alone right now has 26 peer-reviewed published studies on the National Library of Medicine, which is pretty unheard of for a dietary supplement in its form. Maybe some of the ingredients you might find, but yeah. So does that answer your question? Yeah. So yes. Any other questions so far?
And you guys can unmute yourselves and ask if you have a question. You could also raise your hand or type it in the comments, the chat box.
Right.
I really liked when the two molecules came together and held hands. That was cute.
Wait, what? Oh, like the cartoon of the...
Yeah. Because, there are other ways to influence your genomics and, your genetic expression. And one of those is touch and,
Right.
enjoy.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And so, and I think, yeah, and just being on this wellness journey and implementing as many ways as possible, right? Whether it's, massage, yoga, meditation, being out in nature, putting clean food and water in. But I know that what I've found is that, at least me personally, I can't be perfect all the time with all those things, right? So what I love is knowing that I think Dave Asprey talks about, in the book Superhuman that he wrote, like death by 1,000 cuts, right? We're getting all these dings. We're constantly getting dings, and there's a lot of them that are out of our control. So if I can do this one thing that I know is helping, with reduce, right, some of those dings and really elevate, then to me that's that's a non-negotiable, right? And now having the increasing science that's coming out, right, with NAD and the mitochondria, knowing that, we now know, like, at the root of many cancers, is mitochondria. I don't know, Ashley, if you can, speak at all to that.
Not my...
Yeah.
I don't...
So just damage and dysfunction in the cell. So, right, what's at the root of disease? And that's the takeaway. So, and the way to simplify this with those three pathways, NRF2, NRF1, NAD, is protection, energy, vitality. If that is something that you find, would increase your health span, because this is really about health span, right? How do we feel good in our bodies as long as possible? And I always I always talk about, people spend a lot of money to maintenance their homes or their cars on the front end. Like we get oil changes for our cars, but like you can get another car, like you can get another home, but you just get the one body. So I feel like really helping to shift the consciousness around how do we get really proactive and commit to doing things that we now know can really make a dent. So that's kind of the Nutrigenomics. I'm happy to answer any questions and share information how you can access that. And now we'll just talk a little about another really exciting therapeutic approach we're using called neurofeedback. So basically, in a nutshell, if we could reboot or rebalance the brain and central nervous system using a microcurrent of energy, and I actually have right here, I can show you what, so I'll show you what, we have these 5 little electrodes, and they're giving 3 picowatts of energy. That's I think a trillionth of a watt. So it's like, it is about a 100th of a AA battery amount of energy. So we place these around and it's basically like bathing the brain in a gentle energy, which only 2% of the population would even feel any sort of amount of energy happening. So 98% of people are not feeling anything, but it's working predominantly with your delta brain wave. So the delta wave is the dominant wave while we're asleep. What happens is it gets into an abnormal rhythm as we, again, experience stress and illness and all these things that are keeping us stuck in that fight or flight. The delta wave gets to be abnormal. So if we can, and then your brain, whose job it is every night to reset and detox when we sleep, the glymphatic system of the brain, right? So we have the lymphatic system that helps detox the body. We actually have glial cells in the brain, so we have a glymphatic system. And if we don't have healthy delta brainwave, then at night that system cannot reset and detox. And we get an overload of those stress neurotransmitters like cortisol, like norepinephrine, right? And then our body just stays really stuck in the nervous system. So by sending this gentle microcurrent, we're getting that delta wave into a healthier rhythm, allowing you to have a deeper, more qualitative sleep that allows for more reset detox. So for me personally, and about 85% of people experience kind of a positive shift. And I'm actually going to share my screen again here. And let me go. Let me see, I'm going to share. So here, here we go. Okay, so here, the device we use is called the Isis, Isis being the Greek goddess of cures and healing. Isis Microcurrent Neurofeedback was developed by Barry Bruder. He's out of Temecula, California. He personally had a really profound experience with the grandfather device in neurofeedback called the Lens. He was having debilitating anxiety, right? And he experienced a profound shift using the Lens, but unfortunately the Lens, you needed about 40 treatments before you're experiencing that enduring sustainability, which is what we're going for. And so he got together some engineers and created the Isis, which is the device we use, which now the Veterans Administration is actually currently funding a study with 175 vets to help with PTSD, relief from PTSD from traumatic brain injury. There's already a study with traumatic brain injury with this device. And so he wanted to see, how can we make this more effective, more efficient in a shorter number of treatments? So with this device, somewhere between 10 and 20 treatments. And each treatment lasts less than 30 minutes from the time we're prepping the head, putting the electrodes on. The actual treatment itself can be even just a few minutes. And so it's really a very passive way. It's not like with biofeedback where they're having to watch a screen and do activities or anything like that. They're just sitting quietly, receiving this transcranial stimulation, and within 1 to 3 sessions, 85% of people experience a positive shift, right? And with this treatment, less is more. We want to know what is the least amount of energy we can give where you're experiencing a positive shift without an exacerbation of symptoms. But it's like a gentle shaking of the tree that is your central nervous system. So there's 5 protocols. And again, less is more. It's not like we're starting here and we're trying to get up to the highest protocol. In fact, the highest one is called Neuroblast, and it's really indicated for opioid addicts and Marines, or people that have had a really, high levels of PTSD based on their work in the military. So for me, I've had over 30 treatments. Somewhere around 18, I stopped to see if it was sustainable, and it was for me. My experience was that where my brain would normally want to go to stress or anxiety, it's kind of like, nope, we're good. I know that's very very subtle, but very profound shift, right? Like it's this messaging that my brain's like, nope, you're okay. And I have had some of the most deep qualitative sleep that I've ever experienced in my life. I'm a really lucid dreamer, and I often find I'm very, I move around a lot and I'm dreaming a lot, and sometimes wake not feeling rested. And so about the 3rd treatment for me, and again, I've stayed at one of the lowest settings possible on this device throughout the whole time and have found a really profound shift. I would say it was the 3rd treatment where I just had one of the most deep, most restful sleeps, where I woke up and felt rested. And the minute I opened my eyes, I was like, let's go, let's do this. So that was very different experience. So I'm just gonna play just a little video here. So you can look at this list of different things, I mean, across the board. So I'm gonna play this video, and I'll share just a couple of stories of folks that we've worked with this modality. And, oh, I just stopped my share. Hang on, let's go back. Let me see here. Oh, wait. Technology is a challenge for me, but let's go this way. Nope, let's go this way. All right, so here's a short video created by Barry Bruder, the founder of IASIS, and it's got some great testimonies here.
I was officially diagnosed with clinical depression, social anxiety disorder, OCD, and agoraphobia.
I couldn't even get up out of bed in the morning. I wouldn't sleep at night. I get very heavily depressed. I'd harm myself. I'd just do any drugs I could get my hands on.
I wasn't able to have a ceiling fan on in the room. I wasn't able to listen to a single drop of water. I was eating off paper plates in my bedroom. Connor went from having difficulty getting what was up here out. We get very, very frustrated. Although I was receiving help, I wasn't receiving the kind of help I needed.
Before IASIS, I was sleeping in bed all day long, panicking, worrying, depressed, being pushed to take medications.
I used it for traumatic brain injury patients. I used it for patients with anxiety, patients with depression.
Chronic pain, post-traumatic stress, post-traumatic brain injury, OCD. We also treat a lot for peak performance. I became an IASIS neurofeedback provider in hopes to help my own son, who suffered pretty greatly with severe OCD.
Language issues, sleep issues, opioids, crack, cocaine, alcohol, tobacco, people that have issues with food.
When you stop and think about it, it's not that hard to understand. We're talking about a treatment to the brain. The brain controls everything.
I woke up the next morning feeling like I needed to get up, to go run, like I needed to get up, go to the gym, like I needed to do something.
The veil has lifted, the shroud that just weighed me down is gone.
After his first session, he actually had a conversation without pauses, heavy breathing.
When they go through our treatment,
with the ISS neurofeedback treatment, we see substantial improvement in terms of reduction of their TBS symptoms, PTSD symptoms. I will never forget the day that I received the email from Dr. Wong saying that the VA merit study was approved. It was approved because of the fact that we proved the mechanism of action. We aren't just helping people. We don't just have image-based evidence that it works. We know why it works.
The symptoms get better because the condition that's causing the symptoms is being treated.
I couldn't even believe that I was myself again.
I would be so bold as to say that it almost eliminated my social anxiety.
I can function like a normal person for the first time in my life. It's so easily tolerated and so non-invasive.
So a client or a patient comes in.
Usually just asks you to take a deep breath, close your eyes, and maybe for about 15 to 20 minutes.
I didn't feel anything at all. Afterwards, I did. I felt relief.
I don't actually feel anything at all.
If you feel yourself relaxing, it's amazing to see somebody who comes in with an anxiety of 8 to 10, and within just a short time, I have them down to a 2.
It was invigorating to me. It's calming down fight or flight. So the homocysteine, cortisol, adrenaline, norepinephrine is coming down, allowing auto neuroregulation.
Started out twice a week.
After a patient's on 2, maybe 3 months of this therapy, they no longer need it?
Probably once a week too. I don't know that we need it that often, but I figured let's just keep a good thing going.
We don't do this nearly as often as I used to, and I don't see the effects diminishing at all.
Once a month, maybe every 6 weeks.
No, this is the only thing I do for treatment.
I want to see these people live long lives and go out and be productive and feel good.
I'm calm, I'm poised. I can't imagine ever doing that before my experiences with ISS.
You need to do this. You will get better. This thing makes a difference.
If it wasn't for ISS, I wouldn't be alive. I'd be breathing, but I wouldn't be alive.
Yeah, this is a lifesaver.
It works. It's the real deal. It's effective. It's affordable.
These ISS neurofeedback treatments have made such a dramatic difference.
It changed my life.
It changed my life completely.
I'm changing the lives of many families.
You want to hold on to hope and there's nothing there, but when it is there and you have a choice, take it.
Awesome, powerful stuff. Yeah, so Barry's amazing. I've spent time in California with him. He's been here. So I just want to share a couple of patients we've seen some pretty amazing results. One is a 14-year-old kiddo, nonverbal on the autism spectrum. And I've been working with him since he was 10. You know, I've been with Dr. Taylor at Texas Integrative Medicine the last 3.5 years. And then just under a year ago, I've switched to just helping with this brain well-being clinic. And so we had this patient, nonverbal, struggled with insomnia, was a flight risk, and could become violent at times. And as he was getting bigger, as like growing as a human boy, you know, that became a real struggle for his parents. And he came in, and again, the lowest possible setting and number of exposures, so maybe a total of 60 seconds of microcurrent. Started sleeping through the night. They realized that he knew how to unlock the locks and he wasn't a flight risk at that point. And then after, I would say within maybe 6 sessions, he said his ABCs. This could have been nonverbal for as long as I'd known him. And then moving forward from there, able to make eye contact and actually have conversations. So that was amazing. We had another woman who had a toxic mold exposure several years back and had debilitating fatigue, couldn't ride in the car for more than 15 minutes without having to stop. And because of nausea, couldn't eat more than a fist size amount of food at any given setting. Yeah, in the car, couldn't look out the window, couldn't look at the phone, nauseous. With her, because she was really sensitive to treatment, we did what we would call an extreme microdose. So a total of 15 seconds of exposure, 5 seconds, 5 seconds, 5 seconds. After 1 or 2 sessions, was able to ride in the car. She had enough energy to go shopping at the outlet malls with her husband and 2 daughters for a 10-hour day of walking around shopping. Was able to eat. And it's really interesting. Oftentimes we do find that people, their brain is telling them, we feel better. And then sometimes their body, it takes a minute for the body to catch up, which is really interesting, right? People have found they maybe have been able to lower dosage on antidepressants. So really interesting. Again, all this comes back to, and this is my whole like excitement of being here with you guys today, is that your body's a miracle. It wants to heal itself. We've found we're pioneering some really exciting ways to activate that and allow the body to do that, right? There's no magic pill, there's no magic treatment, but you know, for those that are seeking an alternative to pharmaceutical intervention, for those that maybe struggle, because a lot of our patients that have been chronically ill for a long time, it may not be an option for them yet to sit and meditate, to go and do yoga, or go out and be outside, take a walk, or be in public spaces. And now for a lot of us, right? So yeah, I feel really hopeful to be a part of having these solutions. And so yeah, any questions so far with that?
So thank you, Natalie, for your enthusiasm and your passion, and it comes through anytime I talk to you. It's always there, and I love that. So I'm just curious. So in your clinic, first of all, if you could tell everyone where, like,
yeah,
where to find you, all that, and then B, how you approach a client coming in. Like, what do you automatically start everyone on the same protocols? Do you do different protocols? I'm just curious.
That's a great question. So, so we have an office here in Westlake, and we're actually just right below Texas Integrative Medicine, Dr. Wally Taylor's practice. And again, I've worked with him the last 3.5 years. I was doing low-level laser therapy, high-intensity laser therapy, and exercise with oxygen therapy. So everything involving infrared light and oxygen treatments to help, again, detox, increase cellular energy, tissue healing, all these things, amazing. So we're here in Westlake at the Palisades at 3006 Bee Cave Road. And we have an office here, and then we have an office in Round Rock as well. And we'll be expanding this brain well-being clinics in Central Texas. And how it works. So when you initially come in, we spend about an hour together. We do a verbal intake, and we look at certain areas, which we would call measures of reactivity. We rate those on a scale of 1 to 10, 10 being the worst. And those would be headache, sleep, gut, hypersensitivity to light or sound, anxiety, depression. And then of course, whatever it is you're personally dealing with, we're gonna look at that and rate that scale of 1 to 10, 10 being worse, so that we come back each time and we're looking at, you know, the progress that we've made, right? So something to base that on. And yeah, and so based on your measures of reactivity, we would make a decision of where we would start. But because less is more, we do we want to ease in, especially, you know, depending how we're basically looking at neurological fragility or hardiness, right? But I do find it interesting that sometimes someone you would think would be really, like, they seem really hardy. So it is interesting to once you're sitting with someone, to decide, make a decision like how you're feeling about their fragility or hardiness, right? Because I mean, I can have a big bodybuilder, right, like come in and seem really tough, but man, they, you know, they just need a little bit of, and it's, wow, they're having like an instant positive response to that. And so once we find that sweet spot, we're finding where is the sweet spot for Ashley, right? And then once we're there, we just see that positive response continue and then become sustainable. So usually we start people twice a week for a few weeks to really onboard that. We're sending a message to the brain, right? So we want to like really, it's cumulative. So even if you're not experiencing a shift that first one, it's building on itself by sending that message to your brain. And then maybe we go once a week, and then every other week, and then, you know, as a booster, maybe once a month, maybe once every 4 or 6 weeks. Like I've had people say that they are craving it, right? They know their brain's telling them like, I need a reset, I need a reboot, and so yeah, and so like I said, I stopped after 18 treatments, and I was like, let's see if this is, you know,
right. But do you mix in the nutrigenomics as well?
The nutrigenomics is something I do every day until I die.
But is that a separate practice?
So right. LifeVantage, I work independently in global distribution of those 3 cellular activators, among other. We have about 18 or 20 different. We have a nootropic brain food drink. We've got something for your dog. We have nutrigenomics for your dog called Pet Tandem. We've got some gut healing stuff, right? We've got skincare. Your largest organ of the body is your skin. We have NRF2 activation for the cells of your skin, for your hair. You know, the hair absorbs things 4 times faster. Those hair follicles are bigger, I guess, and so what you're putting, there's a great app I recommend called Think Dirty. You can upload it on your phone. You know about Think Dirty? And you can.
Well, is it the environmental working group?
There are 2 ones. I'm not sure if that's tied, but there's the Think Dirty app you can put on your phone, and you can scan different body products, household products. So before you buy, you can scan it, and it's a 0 to 10, 0 to 3 being safer for you and safer for the environment. It'll rate every single ingredient, right? And so our products are within the 0 to 2 range for you know, skincare,
cool,
hair care, things like that. So yeah. Any questions?
So where would someone find you to contact you?
Right. So with the Nutrigenomics, you can go to nataliestone.lifevantage.com, or you can reach out to me on Facebook is a great way. And then for the neurofeedback, you can just go to brainwellbeing.com, and that'll have all of our info there. Yeah. They type in the
brainwellbeing.com. Cool. Does anyone have any questions? We're about time. It's about time to wrap up, but anyone on the call have questions? Need clarification?
Yeah, you can always reach out later if any questions come up. You want, I highly recommend going to pubmed.gov and type in Protandem, and you'll see all those peer-reviewed published studies there. Or just reach out. I can send you links as well. Yeah.
All right, cool. Well, thanks, Natalie.
Oh my gosh.
Always a pleasure.
Thank you so much for having me, and I hope everyone has a wonderful weekend.
Yes.
And yeah.
Yeah, and we'll put this up on the AWC business page on Facebook and on the YouTube channel. So if you didn't know, we have a YouTube channel. It's Austin Wellness Collaborative YouTube channel. So it's open to the public. Anyone can access it. And we've had all the Corona series, all the videos that we've done during the quarantine are there, along with some previous ones, but I don't know if those are public. They may be, I'm not sure. Anywho, yeah, and we are always seeking speakers. If the members, the official AWC members on this call, or if anyone's listening, want to give a talk like this, you are more than welcome. We're doing about 1 a week, so would love to have you share your passion and your energy for healing. So, all right. Well, have a great weekend. Thank you, Natalie, and everybody take care.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
Bye, y'all.
Bye.
Bye.